There are a few vegetables in Florida that will absolutely fight you the whole way. If you've grown any of these 5, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you absolutely must grow them, I do have a couple of tips that will make it just a smidge easier. We're gonna start out with this drama queen right here that's acting all kinds of dramatic. It is having wilting leaves, it's got a little bit of disease, it's not wanting to flower. That's gonna be the cucumber. The cucumber is just so challenging here because it's just, it really wants consistent moisture. It really wants specific varieties that'll grow in this kind of heat. It is very disease resistant, and the pests down here absolutely love cucumbers. So the big thing with these guys, if you really want to try them, is number one, focus on a variety that grows well. Asian and Armenia cucumbers are going to be your best bet, cucamelons. But then even beyond that, I'm going to say it's being on a schedule. This is being super proactive with these guys. You're going to want to do things like be on a regular schedule for fertilizing them, be on a regular schedule for watering them. Drip irrigation is even better. You want the soil to remain completely moist all the time. Not sopping wet, but moist. It's like the 3 little bears. Not too hot, not too cold. It's the same situation. Then on top of that, you have to treat preventatively for disease. Otherwise, it can get away from you. Powdery mildew comes on like that, and it's very hard to get rid of. So you need to be spraying it with some kind of fungicide on a regular basis. Then you also need to be dealing with the pests. Now there's a couple different ways to deal with them. If you want like least invasive way, you're going to want to cover the plant with netting. The problem with covering the plant with netting is it kind of traps humidity in there. So then you have more issues with some of the diseases. It also doesn't allow some of the pollinators to get in here and pollinate them. So you might have to grow very specific varieties that are parthenocarpic, meaning they don't require pollination, but a lot of those are even more sensitive when it comes to fertilizing and heat. You see where I'm going with this. They can be dramatic. It can be done. Definitely growing them in the cooler season is better, but not cold. Once again, 3 little bears. They don't want it super cold, so nothing in the low 30s, but not super hot, nothing in the 80s. So here in Florida, that's like 2 months a year on opposite ends of the calendar. So this one takes the cake for number 1. The next one is not actually in my garden right now, but I do grow it every single year, and that's going to be Brussels sprouts. I know that there's like different levels when it comes to brassicas. I feel like cabbage and kale are pretty easy to grow, along with kohlrabi. Then you get into some of the more complicated ones like broccoli and cauliflower, and then you get into top tier, hardest one to grow here in Florida is going to be Brussels sprouts. Now, if you're in the northern part of the state, it might be a little bit easier. If you're in the southern part of the state, it's going to be damn near impossible. It is so rough growing Brussels sprouts because Brussels sprouts like a cool season, and we only have a very short period of time with that, the temperatures that they like. They want to stay in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, day and night. Like they don't want to be in the 70s. And in our winters here in Central Florida, it gets in the 70s. In South Florida, I mean, it gets into the 80s sometimes. So like growing them is super hard. So what you definitely want to do, the trick to them, it's all about variety. You need a variety that can handle the heat and grows very quickly. So the only one that I have found that works pretty consistently every single year is going to be Jade Cross. Now there are some negatives about the Jade Cross, as I feel like the longer it stays in the ground, like the more like possibilities of fungal diseases and like different kinds of blight that I don't get with any other brassicas. Only happens on the Brussels sprouts, and I swear it only starts like 1 month before the harvest. So frustrating. These things are in your garden from, I start them in August and I don't harvest them until usually like March. It is a long time. And they want cold temperatures the whole time, and they want well fed and well moisture, but they also want full sun. It's like an oxymoron with these guys. They're very, very tough. So variety is probably your number 1. And then like a protected area that stays cool. I know, right? It's like, and it is full sun. For me, that I have learned is the very corner of my yard, that first bed. It gets full sun, but something about the way that it traps air right there, the way the breeze comes through my yard, is that particular area gets the coldest. And I learned that through taking temperature readings throughout my garden during the coldest nights that we had this last winter. And I realized like that is the bed that I need to grow them in forever from now on. And that's probably the only bed I ever will grow them in. So they are tough. And if you can find a hybrid variety that's very quick, that can handle some heat, you're going to have the best luck. But they're definitely not easy. There's a few more tricks when trying to grow Brussels sprouts, cucumbers, or any of the other vegetables we're going to talk about today. You can check out in my book. I have extra information about each one of these vegetables, all the little tips and tricks that I have learned along the way. You can get this. This is my Homegrown Florida Gardening Guide. It's an ebook. You can get it on my website, homegrownfloridagarden.com. The next one on our list is going to be this big guy right here, basically taking up the whole bed, is going to be zucchini, summer squash, zucchini, whatever you want to call it. Now, there's a few things that are very similar to this one, to the ones that we talked about before. So for example, when it comes to the Brussels sprouts, we talked about variety. Well, when it comes to summer squash or zucchini, variety is very important. And I have really found that the hybrids do best. So the Dunja and the Sunburst are my two favorite this season. There are a couple heirlooms, so it's not like they're completely out of the picture. I've had good luck with gray zucchini, the early prolific straight neck squash, and trombacino. You can eat that one as a winter or a summer squash. Those are all heirlooms and they do okay. Now, like the cucumbers, this one also needs that schedule. It's going to have disease issues. It's going to have pest issues. It's going to have fertilizer issues and moisture issues. And you have to be on that proactive schedule. So kind of follow the same kind of schedule that you set up for your cucumber. Now, the problem that you're going to have with this one that's a little bit different than some of the other ones is going to be with timing. These guys grow fast and they flower pretty quickly. I mean, probably just as quick as the cucumbers, but their flowers are like so sensitive. If it gets too hot, too much rain, too cold, not enough rain, drought conditions, like they don't flower properly. You'll get nothing but male flowers, nothing but female flowers, or you'll get a female flower where the fruit is there, but then the flower actually never opens. I've seen that. Drives me nuts. That's from too much heat. And there's really, I mean, you can add shade cloth. That's going to help. But there's not a whole lot that you can do once they get to that point where their flowers aren't behaving properly. So my best bet with these guys is actually to start them in trays. I know, this is like beginner gardener 101. Don't plant these as transplants, but I do. I start them as transplants because in our winter here, we do get some frost, but most of the time we're living during the period that these guys like to grow. So they like the temperatures in our winter, except for those handful of days that they get down super cold. They don't like that. So what I have to do is I start them in trays or in small pots and I let them grow up a little bit before I very, very gently, like a surgeon, put them into the ground after I know that all of the chances of frost have passed. Now, these guys actually went to the ground before my last frost date, and then we had a late frost that occurred. So I had to protect them. I was putting like pots on top of them, upside down, like the black pots, and then blankets on top, frost blankets, Christmas lights. Like I was doing it all. Like I was doing all the things. And they survived and they grew and I've gotten a harvest and that has worked. I have found that the earlier you could get them in, that timing really helps with the pests, with the disease, with everything. So if you want to grow these, you got to figure out a way to grow them earlier and protect them from cold weather. This next one I grow every single year. I absolutely love growing it in my garden, but it's very much like the Brussels sprouts, and that's going to be celery. Celery, also long season, cool crop. It grows very slowly, very slowly. And if you don't harvest it before it gets hot, it gets like a very weird flavor. It's like a strong celery flavor, too strong. So you want to grow it during the cool season. We grow it during winter. It doesn't really, what I have noticed growing it during winter, I don't really have problems with disease or pests. So that's like not a big deal, thank goodness, right? Because all the other ones are a mess. But when it comes to celery, like it's really having to do with the moisture of the soil, not too wet because otherwise it gets root rot, not too dry because then the celery like tastes bad. And then also keeping it cool. And because it takes so long to grow, that can be a challenge. Now there's 2 tricks I've learned to that. The first one is I start those seeds in my arrow garden inside my house. They're good at being transplanted, so that works out. So I put them inside my house because it's a nice 70, 72 degrees in my house at all times. Even during the winter, we keep it cold in our house. So it grows up there, it sprouts, because sprouting celery can be a little bit tricky for some people. But then it sprouts and it grows, and it takes like 2 months to get to transplant size. So I started inside in August, and I kind of limp it along until like October, and then I transplant it into a pot in October and keep it in the shade because it's still hot here in Florida in October. And then by November, after sitting here nursing this thing along, then I put them in the garden in November. I will say that this is the one plant, and I don't do this with a lot of plants, but this is the one plant that is not a perennial crop, that is an annual crop that I don't always grow from seed. I will start seeds in August, and I will sometimes be like, you know, they're taking too long, I had too much failure, something happened, right? Something always happens. I transplanted them out and they died, and I just go up to the store and I get a pack, like a 6-pack. I can find usually a 6-pack for, used to be like $5 you can get a 6-pack for, so it's like $1 each, which by the way, you can kind of get them for $1 or $2 each in the grocery store. But the cool thing is they're a cut and come again. So it makes sense to me to do this because they are a cut and come again, meaning I can cut the outer branches all season long, from fall to winter into the beginning of spring. And then I can cut all of them all at once. I can chop them up, I can freeze them. I can make celery salt, I can make celery seeds, celery seasoning. I can do all kinds of stuff with the celery, even after it doesn't taste good and it's bolted. So I feel like there's reason for it, but it's not good reason. Not for growing something that really just doesn't want to grow here. And then the last one on the list, we're hanging out by all of my herbs, is going to be lavender. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I have tried lavender for years and years and years. I usually try it every single year. I'm actually taking this year off because I need a break from it, because I just keep trying and doing different things and that thing just doesn't want to grow. But I have learned a little bit. So I have heard that there's varieties of lavenders that are more heat resistant. I haven't gotten my hand on one that actually has worked yet, so I don't have a recommendation in terms of variety for you. If you do know that, if that's something that you have had success with, head down to the comments, because I know it's not just me. There are tons of you out there who have asked me this question about how to grow lavender. So I get it. And if you guys have the cheat code, you know, put it down in the comments, because I'm desperate, as well as I know a lot of the community would love to hear it too. The thing that I have learned about lavender in the couple attempts that I have gotten it to live for about a year, not much longer than that, has been that I don't put it anywhere in the ground here. I also don't put it in containers that can be get rained on, because it doesn't seem to like moisture very much. In fact, it's like, it feels like it's like super drought tolerant. Like it wants it so dry that you're uncomfortable as a gardener, that you keep looking at it like, you all right? You sure? Like you haven't been watered in like 4 weeks. Are you okay? And it's okay. It's kind of still there. It's still, you know, doing well. It's putting off some flowers and stuff. It's not really growing very well. Like it kind of just limps along and it's growing. But it does stay around. So I know that drought conditions is a big one for it. I also have, like I said, have heard that varieties are a big one for it. And I don't find that our native soil works well. I don't even really find that the potting soil that I like to use that holds a lot of moisture, like ProMix, works well. I actually go and I pick up like the generic brand that's really woody. I think what you would find for like orchids or something like that, where it's just very woody and it doesn't hold on to very much water. Like that's the kind of stuff that I feel like works well with it, it blows my mind. I think the sand holds too much water but not enough nutrients, and the potting soils have enough nutrients but too much water holding. Like it's just 3 little bears again. These guys just want everything that we don't have here. So you can not grow it, outsource that one, buy from a really great herb store, you know, an organic herb store, or get you a perennial plant that's a good variety and give it a shot under a covered area with perfect soil and no water. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today talking about all these drama diva plants. If you've got one to add to this list, make sure to let me know. I'm very curious which ones you have been struggling with to see if we can add that one to these little diva lists. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. Happy gardening.